There is a vegetable in Asia that never dies. Cut it once and it grows back. Cut it 12 times and it still returns. It feeds itself from scraps, requires almost no water, and thrives in heat that kills lettuce. For 2,000 years, it survived wars, droughts, and collapse. But walk into any American supermarket and you will never find it. Not because it does not grow here, not because it tastes bad, but because it refuses to behave like a product. A vegetable that regenerates from kitchen waste 12 times cannot be controlled. And what cannot be controlled cannot be monetized. This is the story of the plant that outlasted dynasties, fed armies without fields, and still waits in the gardens of those who remember. Before we begin, if stories like this matter to you, subscribe now and hit the bell. Every like, every share keeps this knowledge alive. The archive opens in the Pearl River Delta, southern China, sometime around 200 BCE. The Han Dynasty is expanding. Armies march south into humid lowlands where wheat will not grow and millet rots in the rain. Soldiers need food that survives monsoons. Local farmers offer them a strange leafy vegetable. It grows in water, in mud, in drainage ditches. You eat the leaves. Then you cut the stem and leave the roots. 7 days later, new leaves appear. Cut again, it grows again, 12 times from one planting. The soldiers call it ong choi in Cantonese. The Mandarin speakers call it kong shin kai, hollow heart vegetable. Botanists will later name it Ipomoea aquatica, water spinach, a semi-aquatic vine in the morning glory family. But names do not capture what it does. This plant rewrites the rules. Most vegetables give one harvest. Water spinach gives 12, sometimes 15, from the same root system. In tropical heat, it grows an inch per day. You can watch it climb. The stems are hollow, filled with air pockets that let it float on floodwater. The leaves are arrow-shaped, tender, and mild. Farmers in Guangdong province discovered the method 2 millennia ago. Plant cuttings in wet soil or directly in ponds. Wait 2 weeks. Harvest the top 6 inches. Leave the base and roots untouched. The plant does not die. It sends up new shoots within days. One planting feeds a family all summer. No replanting, no seed saving, just continuous abundance. The yield is incomprehensible by Western standards. 1 square meter produces 5 kilograms of edible greens per month in peak season. That is over 10 pounds from 1 square meter. Lettuce in California yields 2 pounds per square meter per harvest and requires replanting. Spinach gives 3 pounds, then dies. Water spinach produces 10 pounds and keeps going. Across 12 cuts, a single square meter yields 60 kilograms in one season. That is 132 pounds of food from an area the size of a small table. The Chinese understood this was not just a vegetable, it was a survival technology. During the Three Kingdoms period, 220 to 280 CE, warlords burned fields and poisoned wells. Armies destroyed grain stores to starve rivals. Water spinach survived. It grew in swamps where soldiers would not march. It hid in irrigation ditches. Peasants harvested in darkness and fed their children. No granary to raid, no field to burn. Just green leaves returning again and again. By the Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, water spinach had spread across southern China, Vietnam, Thailand, and into India. Each culture adapted it. The Vietnamese called it rau muong. They planted it in rice paddies as a secondary crop. While rice matured over months, water spinach provided greens every week. Farmers harvested 12 times before the rice was ready. 2 crops from one field, no extra land, no extra water. The Thais called it pak bung. They grew it in canal systems, floating gardens where vegetables rafted on bamboo mats. Water spinach thrived. Its hollow stems kept it buoyant. Entire markets floated on water, selling greens cut that morning, grown on water, sold on water, eaten within hours. In India, Bengali farmers called it Kolmi sag. They planted it during monsoon season when fields flooded. Other crops drowned. Water spinach flourished. The more it rained, the faster it grew. It turned disaster into abundance. By the 15th century, water spinach had become one of the most eaten vegetables in Asia. Not because of taste, though it was delicious, mild, slightly sweet, tender, but because it could not be stopped. Plant it once, and it fed you all season. Neglect it, and it still grew. Flood it, and it spread faster. It required no fertilizer, no pesticides, no care, just water and heat, and in return, it gave everything. Then Europeans arrived. The Portuguese reached Macau in 1557. They saw water spinach everywhere in ponds, rivers, and ditches. They tasted it. They liked it, but they did not understand it. Why plant something that never dies? How do you control a crop that grows in wild water? Their agricultural model required ownership. Defined fields, seasonal planting, harvest, fallow, repeat. Water spinach had no fallow. It had no off-season in the tropics. It just grew. The Portuguese took seeds back to Europe. It failed. Water spinach needs heat, humidity, and long days. Europe had none. The plant died in Portuguese gardens. They forgot about it. But in Asia, it kept spreading. By the 1800s, Chinese immigrants carried water spinach to every port they touched. San Francisco, Manila, Singapore, Penang, Batavia. Wherever Chinese communities formed, water spinach appeared. Not in markets, in backyard gardens, along streams, in pots on balconies. It was food from home, comfort, identity. In 1975, the Vietnam War ended. Refugees fled to America, Thailand, the Philippines. They carried almost nothing, but some carried seeds. Tiny, hard, black seeds of water spinach. In refugee camps, they planted them in mud. The greens grew. They harvested and cut 12 times. It was a taste of home, a memory, a link to everything lost. By the 1980s, Vietnamese and Chinese communities in California, Texas, and Florida grew water spinach in gardens and empty lots. It thrived in the heat. Houston summers killed lettuce. Water spinach exploded. One plant became 10. 10 became a thicket. Families harvested weekly, stir-fried with garlic, added to soups, blanched with oyster sauce. Restaurants in Little Saigon and Chinatown served it, but it never appeared in American supermarkets. Never in Safeway or Kroger. Never next to the spinach and kale. Why? The answer is suffocating. In 1997, the USDA declared water spinach a noxious weed, not because it harmed crops, not because it was toxic, but because it spread too easily. It grew too fast. It was too hard to kill. The fear was ecological. Water spinach is semi-aquatic. If it escaped into waterways, it could choke rivers, block irrigation, outcompete native plants. Florida already had problems with invasive aquatic plants, hydrilla, hyacinth. They cost millions to control. The USDA decided water spinach was too risky. They banned interstate transport. They banned commercial cultivation without permits. Those permits were nearly impossible to get. Overnight, a vegetable eaten by 1 billion people became illegal in America. Not illegal to eat, illegal to grow commercially, illegal to sell across state lines. Asian farmers who had grown it for decades faced fines. Markets stopped stocking it. Seed companies stopped selling it. The vegetable that regenerates 12 times was killed by paperwork. But the ban had holes. You could grow it for personal use in some states. You could not sell it. You could not transport it. But in your backyard, in theory, it was allowed. Most people did not know that. They heard noxious weed and stopped. Fear replaced knowledge. An entire generation of Asian Americans grew up never tasting the vegetable their grandparents ate daily, yet it survived. In Florida, Texas, and California, water spinach grows wild, escaped from gardens, thriving in drainage canals, uncontrolled, unstoppable. Exactly what the USDA feared. but also exactly what it was designed to do. Water spinach is not invasive because it is evil. It is successful because it is brilliant. It evolved in tropical Asia, where monsoons flood fields and droughts crack earth. It needed to survive both. So it grew hollow stems to float. It grew roots that anchor in mud. It spread by cuttings, by seeds, by fragments. Any piece can regenerate. Cut the top, the bottom regrows. Snap the stem, both halves sprout. Flood it, it rafts. Drain it, it roots deeper. This is not aggression. This is resilience. Modern science has caught up. In 2018, researchers at the University of Florida analyzed water spinach nutrition. Per 100 grams raw, 73% water, 19 calories, 2.6 grams of protein, 3.4 grams of carbohydrates, 2.1 grams of fiber. Vitamin A at 6,300 international units. That is 126% of daily needs. Vitamin C at 55 milligrams, almost as much as an orange. Calcium at 77 milligrams. Iron at 1.67 milligrams, more than spinach. Potassium, magnesium, folate, B vitamins flooding every cell. But there is more. Water spinach contains carotenoids, lutein, and beta-carotene. These protect eyes from blue light damage, reduce macular degeneration, and block oxidative stress. Studies in China found that eating water spinach 3 times per week reduced diabetes risk by 18%. The fiber slows sugar absorption. The antioxidants protect pancreatic cells. Insulin sensitivity improves. In Thailand, traditional medicine used water spinach for jaundice. Boil the leaves, drink the water. Jaundice faded. Modern research confirmed it. Water spinach contains compounds that support liver detoxification. It helps process bilirubin, the pigment that causes yellowing. Not a cure, but support. Folk medicine meeting biochemistry. And it heals land. Water spinach is a hyperaccumulator. It pulls heavy metals from soil and water, lead, cadmium, arsenic. The plant absorbs them into its tissues. Farmers in contaminated areas plant water spinach, grow it, harvest it, and dispose of the biomass safely. The soil slowly cleans. This is phytoremediation, using plants to heal industrial damage. Water spinach does it faster than almost any other crop. In Vietnam, rice paddies poisoned by Agent Orange were planted with water spinach. Over 5 years, toxin levels dropped. The water spinach was not eaten. It was grown, cut, and burned safely. But it worked. The land healed. Rice returned. So why does this matter to America? Walk into Whole Foods. Organic kale is $4 a bunch. Organic spinach is $5 for a small box. Both require replanting. Both need fertilizer, pesticides, irrigation. Harvest once and the plant dies. Now imagine water spinach. Plant once. Harvest 12 times. No replanting, no fertilizer. Minimal water. Grows faster than weeds. 1 box of cuttings feeds a family all summer. But that is the problem. A vegetable that grows itself does not generate profit. Seed companies cannot sell seeds every season if the plant never dies. Fertilizer companies cannot sell chemicals if the plant needs none. Pesticide companies cannot sell sprays if nothing attacks it. Big Ag cannot mechanize harvest if the plant must be cut by hand every week. There is no economy in abundance, no profit in resilience, so it stays illegal. Let that sink in. A vegetable that could reduce food costs, improve nutrition, and grow in poor communities without infrastructure is banned. Not because it harms people, because it does not need the system. The pattern repeats. Amaranth was banned by Spanish conquistadors because it enabled Aztec independence. Hemp was banned because it competed with petroleum. Rainwater harvesting is illegal in some states because it bypasses municipal control. Food forests are zoned out because they do not look like agriculture. Crops that enable self-sufficiency are systematically suppressed. Not through violence, through regulation, through fear, through the word Invasive. Invasive is the label we use for things that succeed without permission. Dandelions are invasive. They are also more nutritious than lettuce. Purslane is invasive. It has more omega-3s than fish. Lamb's quarters are invasive. Native Americans cultivated them for 1,000 years. These plants do not need us. They grow in cracks, in vacant lots, in the margins we ignore. That is not invasion. That is survival. Water spinach is the same. It survives because it refuses to die. And that refusal is called dangerous. But dangerous to what? In 2005, Hurricane Katrina flooded New Orleans. Saltwater surged into neighborhoods. Gardens drowned. Soil turned toxic. But in Vietnamese communities in New Orleans East, something strange happened. Within weeks, green shoots appeared. Water spinach. It had survived underground. The flood made it grow faster. Families harvested it. They ate fresh greens while FEMA handed out MREs. That resilience was not planned. It was inherent. The plant was designed for chaos. In 2017, Hurricane Maria destroyed Puerto Rico. Food imports stopped. Supermarkets emptied. People starved. But in the mountains, families with backyard gardens survived. Yucca, plantains, pigeon peas, crops that regrow, crops that do not need trucks. If water spinach had been legal, if it had been normalized, thousands more could have eaten. But it was not. It was banned. So people went hungry while a vegetable that regenerates 12 times stayed illegal. Climate change is accelerating. Droughts, floods, heat waves. Industrial crops are failing. Wheat yields are dropping. Corn Belt is shifting north. Lettuce requires cold. Spinach bolts in heat. Water spinach loves heat. The hotter it gets, the faster it grows. It needs 1/10 the water of lettuce. It tolerates flooding. It grows in poor soil. It is the crop for the future we are entering. But it is banned. Let that irony settle. The crop designed for climate chaos is illegal in the country facing climate chaos. Not illegal everywhere. California allows personal cultivation. Hawaii allows it with permits. Florida bans it completely. Texas allows it, but does not enforce. The law is a patchwork, confusing, intimidating, so most people do not try. But some do. In Houston, a Vietnamese farmer named Hyen grows water spinach in a hidden greenhouse. She sells it under the table to restaurants, cash only, no receipts. She harvests every 6 days, 12 cuts per season. Her customers pay $3 a pound. She grows 50 pounds a week. That is $150 weekly from one small greenhouse. She could expand, she could sell legally, but she cannot get permits. So she hides. A farmer hiding vegetables. In America. In California, a Cantonese chef named Lau grows water spinach in buckets behind his restaurant. He cuts it fresh for stir-fries. Customers ask where he gets it. He smiles and says nothing. If inspectors find out, he could be fined. So he stays quiet. A chef hiding food. In America. This is the absurdity. A vegetable eaten by 1 billion people is contraband here. Not because it is dangerous, because it is too successful, because it does not fit the system, because it grows without permission. But the knowledge spreads. Online forums teach how to grow it. Asian seed companies sell cuttings quietly. Gardeners share plants in secret. The underground network is growing. Not criminals, grandmothers, refugees, chefs, people who remember that food is not a product, it is life. In 2020, during the pandemic, food imports slowed, supermarkets rationed, people panicked. But those with gardens ate well. Water spinach growers harvested every week. They shared with neighbors. No supply chain, no trucks, no shortages, just continuous greens. That is the power of perennials. That is the threat of resilience. Water spinach teaches through persistence. It does not argue. It does not protest. It just grows. In ditches, in cracks, in buckets, in hidden greenhouses. Every cutting that roots is an act of resistance. Every harvest is proof that abundance does not require permission. The system wants you to believe food comes from stores, from corporations, from distant fields managed by experts. Water spinach proves otherwise. Food comes from dirt, from water, from sun, from knowledge passed between hands. Your grandmother knew this. Her grandmother knew this. Somewhere in your lineage, someone grew food that regenerated, that never needed buying, that fed children without money. We have forgotten. But forgetting is not permanent. The water spinach remembers. Every cutting carries 2,000 years of survival. Every stem holds the memory of monsoons, droughts, wars, collapse. It outlasted dynasties. It fed armies. It survived bans. And it is still here, growing, waiting. If you want to grow it, know this. It is legal for personal use in most states. Check local laws. Start with cuttings, not seeds. Seeds are slow. Cuttings root in 5 days. Use a bucket with drainage holes. Fill with soil or compost. Plant cuttings 2 inches deep. Water daily. In 2 weeks, harvest the top 6 inches. Leave 4 inches and roots. It regrows in 7 days. Cut again, 12 times per season. It needs heat. Above 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Below 60, it slows. Frost kills it. But in warm climates, it grows year-round. Some gardeners bring it indoors in winter. It grows under lights. Slower, but it grows. The taste is mild, slightly sweet, tender. The stems are crunchy, the leaves are soft. Stir-fry with garlic and oyster sauce. Add to soups, blanch and serve cold. Blend into smoothies. It is versatile, forgiving, delicious. But more than that, it is proof that you do not need permission to feed yourself. Proof that one planting feeds you all season. Proof that abundance is simple. The system will call it invasive. Let them. Every invasive plant in America was brought here by colonizers or survived despite them. Water spinach is not invading. It is naturalizing. It is adapting. It is doing what life does, persisting. You do not need to fight the system. You just need to grow food, quietly, continuously. Share cuttings, teach neighbors, build networks that do not depend on trucks, on stores, on approval. This is not rebellion, this is remembering. Water spinach is not magic, it is biology. It is 2,000 years of human observation compressed into one plant. It is the knowledge that resilience comes from regeneration, that security comes from roots, not money, that freedom grows in buckets. Consider what happens when communities rediscover this. In Detroit, where food deserts stretch for miles, a single cutting could feed a family all summer. In Phoenix, where water costs soar and droughts lengthen, a plant that needs minimal irrigation becomes salvation. In Miami, where rising seas threaten agriculture, a flood-tolerant crop that thrives in brackish water offers hope. But none of this happens at scale. Not yet. Because the law stands in the way. Because fear of what grows freely outweighs hunger. The elders know better. In Oakland, a Hmong grandmother grows water spinach in kiddie pools on her apartment balcony. She remembers the Mekong Delta. She remembers feeding 8 children from a patch smaller than a parking space. Now she feeds her grandchildren. She does not ask permission. She does not check regulations. She just plants. The knowledge does not fit on forms. It lives in hands. In Atlanta, a Thai restaurant owner converted his parking lot into a growing operation. 25 plastic bins, each one yielding greens every 6 days. He processes 200 pounds monthly, feeds his family, feeds his restaurant, sells the surplus to friends, all untaxed, all unregulated, all invisible to the system that says this should not exist. He does not see himself as criminal. He sees himself as practical. Food should not require bureaucracy. The academic researchers noticed, too. In 2021, agronomists at UC Davis ran trials. They compared water spinach to conventional greens under drought conditions. When water was restricted by half, lettuce yields dropped 70%. Spinach dropped 60%. Arugula died completely. Water spinach yields dropped 12%. 12%. When they cut water by 75%, only water spinach survived. The researchers wrote papers. They presented findings. They recommended further study. Nothing changed. The laws remained. The crop stayed illegal. The knowledge gathered dust while California burned and reservoirs emptied. In Taiwan, the same vegetable grows everywhere. Night markets sell it fresh cut hourly. Street vendors serve it at every corner. Families plant it in window boxes. Nobody regulates it. Nobody fears it. It is just food. Cheap, reliable, abundant food. The contrast is stark. One island normalizes it. Another island criminalizes it. Same plant, different stories about control. This is the central tension. Water spinach exposes the lie that scarcity is natural. The supermarket wants you to believe food is complex, fragile, dependent on supply chains spanning continents. Water spinach says otherwise. It says food is simple. It says abundance is the default state. It says you can feed yourself from a bucket. That message threatens the foundation of food commerce, not because it is false, because it is true. And the truth spreads despite suppression. YouTube videos show how to grow it. Comment sections fill with grateful replies. People share their first harvests, their second, their 12th. The algorithm does not recommend these videos. They do not trend, but they accumulate views slowly, persistently, like the plant itself, growing in the margins, reaching those who search. The future is already here in the gardens of those who refuse to wait. The seeds are already planted, the cuttings already rooting, the harvests already feeding families. The law says should not be fed this way. This is not revolution. Revolutions are loud. This is quiet. This is grandmothers teaching grandchildren. This is refugees planting memory. This is communities choosing abundance over compliance. The regulatory apparatus does not know what to do with plants that succeed too well. Control requires limitation. Water spinach refuses limitation. Every attempt to contain it proves its value. Every ban demonstrates its necessity. Every restriction reveals the truth. The harder they push against it, the clearer it becomes that the problem is not the plant. The problem is a system that cannot profit from things that freely give. If this opened something, subscribe now. Hit the bell. Share this with someone who needs to remember. The next story drops soon. Until then, plant something that regrows. Watch it return. And know that abundance was here, waiting in the dirt, forever free.